What if I told you that the person you keep calling your soulmate is actually the test standing between you and the spouse Allah has truly written for you? Some people enter our lives with feelings so powerful that they seem impossible to question. The connection feels perfect, the attachment feels unbreakable, and losing them feels like losing a part of yourself. So we begin to believe that emotions this deep must be a sign from Allah. But Islam teaches something far more profound. Not every person who captures your heart is meant to become your spouse. Sometimes Allah places someone in your life not to fulfill your future, but to reveal what your heart has begun to love more than him. In this video, you'll discover 5 powerful Islamic truths that expose the difference between a soulmate and a test. Why some relationships are meant to transform you rather than stay with you, and how letting go of the wrong person may be the very path Allah uses to lead you to the right one. 1. The hardest person to leave is often the test Allah sent to change you. One of the biggest mistakes people make about love is believing that the hardest person to leave must be the right person. Many people think, if I still can't forget them, if I think about them every day, if losing them hurts this much, then they must be my soulmate. But Islam never teaches us to judge the truth by how strong our feelings are. Our hearts are a beautiful gift from Allah, but they can also become attached to people who are not good for us. That is why the Prophet ﷺ often asked Allah to keep his heart firm upon the truth, because every heart needs Allah's guidance. Sometimes you become attached to someone not because they are meant for you, but because they slowly become the center of your life. You begin imagining your future with them. You wait for their messages. Your mood changes because of how they treat you. Your peace depends on whether they give you attention. You even begin to measure your worth by whether they choose you. Without realizing it, they start taking a place in your heart that should belong only to Allah. This is how a test begins. Not through hatred, not through disbelief, but through an attachment that slowly becomes stronger than your trust in Allah. Look carefully at what happens when someone becomes an unhealthy attachment. Your du'as slowly change. Instead of asking, "O Allah, choose what is best for me," you begin asking, "O Allah, please let it be this person," even when your heart keeps getting hurt, even when you keep losing your peace, even when the relationship fills your life with confusion instead of comfort, even when the people who truly care about you become worried, even when you notice your connection with Allah becoming weaker, still, your heart refuses to let go. You keep chasing someone while your soul keeps feeling tired. This is why some of the greatest tests do not come as enemies. Sometimes, they come as someone you deeply love, someone you believe you cannot live without. Allah may allow that person to enter your life, not because they are your future spouse, but because they reveal what your heart has become dependent on besides him. A test reveals what is hidden inside us. It shows us things we could not see before. Maybe you discover that your patience is weaker than you thought. Maybe you realize that your happiness depends too much on another person. Maybe you understand that you have been looking for peace in a human being instead of looking for it in Allah. These lessons are painful, but they are also valuable, because the heart that admits its weakness is the heart that can truly grow stronger. When you read the stories in the Qur'an, you see the same pattern again and again. Allah tested his righteous servants, not because he wanted to destroy them, but because he wanted to raise them to a higher level. Every test had wisdom. Every delay had a purpose. Every hardship brought them closer to Allah. Your test may not be money. It may not be sickness. It may not be your career. Your test may simply be one person, one face, one memory, one attachment that your heart refuses to leave behind. But what if that closed door is actually protecting your future? Allah knows things you do not know. He knows conversations you never heard. He knows intentions people never showed you. He knows the pain that could have come later. He knows the marriage that might have broken your heart. He knows the home that might have taken away your peace. He knows the future that only He can see, while you are crying because you lost one person. Allah may be protecting your entire life. This is why real faith means trusting Allah, even when you do not understand His plan. Not because you have all the answers, but because Allah does. The hardest person to leave is not always your soulmate. Sometimes they are the test Allah used to bring you back to Him, because in the end, your heart was never created to depend on another person. It was created to depend on Allah alone. 2. The heart can mistake emotional pain for a sign from Allah. One of the easiest mistakes to make is believing that strong feelings always mean something is meant to happen. Many people think, if I cannot stop thinking about them, if my heart keeps going back to them, if losing them hurts this much, then Allah must have put them in my destiny. But strong emotions are not proof. Pain is not proof. Longing is not proof. Islam teaches us to judge things by truth, not by feelings alone. The human heart is powerful, but it is also emotional. It can love what is good for it, and it can also become attached to what is harmful. That is why our hearts need guidance from Allah. Think about how often people confuse love with obsession. They believe that because someone occupies their thoughts day and night, that person must be special. But sometimes, they are only special because your heart has become attached to an idea. The idea of being with them. The idea of finally feeling loved. The idea that they are the only person who can make you happy. Over time, that idea becomes stronger than reality. You stop seeing who they truly are. You only see who you hope they will become. You ignore the warning signs. You excuse behavior that hurts you. You accept things you once promised yourself you would never accept. Not because your heart is guiding you, but because your emotions have become louder than your wisdom. Shaitan understands this very well. He knows that if he cannot always lead a believer through obvious sins, he can sometimes keep them trapped through unhealthy attachment. He fills the heart with endless what-if questions. What if they change? What if they come back? What if this is your only chance? What if you spend your whole life regretting this? These thoughts steal your peace. They keep your heart tied to someone who may never have been written for you. Meanwhile, your trust in Allah becomes weaker. Instead of accepting Allah's plan, you begin fighting against it. Instead of finding peace in His wisdom, you become restless because things are not happening the way you wanted. Ask yourself an honest question. Does this relationship bring you closer to Allah? Or does it pull your attention away from Him? Do you feel more grateful or more anxious? Do you become more patient or more desperate? Does your heart find peace, or does it constantly live in fear of losing them? Allah describes Himself as As-Salam, the source of peace. The closer we grow to Allah, the more peace enters our hearts. This does not mean life becomes free of problems. It means our hearts become stronger than our problems. But unhealthy attachment does the opposite. It fills the heart with fear, fear of rejection, fear of losing someone, fear of being alone, fear that life will never be good without them. That fear slowly becomes a prison. The heart begins to believe that happiness depends on one person, but no human being was created to carry that responsibility. Only Allah can fill the emptiness of the heart. People can love you, support you, care for you, but they can never replace the peace that comes from trusting your Creator. Sometimes Allah allows your heart to break, not to punish you, but to free you, because a heart that depends on people will always be disappointed. People change, feelings change, circumstances change, but Allah never changes. His mercy never changes. His wisdom never changes. His promises never fail. The greatest love story is not the one that keeps you awake every night, wondering if someone will choose you. The greatest love is the one that brings your heart back to the one who has chosen to guide you. Never believe that every strong feeling is a message from Allah. Sometimes, It is simply a test of whether you will follow your emotions or follow His guidance. Because when your heart learns to trust Allah more than its own feelings, that is the moment real peace begins. 3. The person you keep chasing may be the door Allah is mercifully closing. One of the hardest things to accept is that not every closed door is a loss. Sometimes it is protection. When a relationship does not work, our first reaction is often to ask, why did this happen? Why did Allah allow me to meet them if they were never meant for me? These questions are natural, but they only look at the present. Allah sees the future. He knows what is hidden. He knows what people carry in their hearts. He knows the conversations you never heard. He knows the intentions that were never spoken. He knows the pain that could have entered your life if that door had remained open. Many people spend months, even years, trying to reopen a door that Allah has already closed. They keep sending messages. They keep waiting. They keep hoping. They keep telling themselves, maybe one more chance. But sometimes, every failed attempt is Allah gently saying, this is not where your future is. The problem is that we often confuse persistence with trust. Real trust in Allah does not mean refusing to accept reality. Real trust means believing that if Allah removes something from your life, He has not made a mistake. His wisdom is greater than your understanding. Think about how many times you wanted something in the past. You believed you could never be happy without it. You prayed for it. You cried for it. But years later, you looked back and thanked Allah for not giving it to you. What once felt like disappointment later became one of the greatest blessings in your life. The same may be true about the person you cannot forget today. Right now, your heart only sees what it has lost. Allah sees what He is protecting. Perhaps He is protecting your peace. Perhaps He is protecting your faith. Perhaps He is protecting your future family. Perhaps He is protecting you from a marriage that would have filled your home with sadness instead of tranquility. Allah alone knows. The Qur'an reminds us that we may love something while it is bad for us, and we may dislike something while it is good for us. Our knowledge is limited. Allah's knowledge is complete. That is why a believer learns not to judge life only by what happens today. Sometimes the greatest mercy comes in the form of unanswered prayers. Sometimes the greatest blessing arrives after a painful goodbye. And sometimes, the person you wanted most is the very person Allah knew would have taken you further away from Him. Never think that a closed door means Allah has forgotten you. Sometimes a closed door is one of the clearest signs of His care. Because a loving Lord does not always give His servant everything they ask for. He gives them what is best for their faith, their heart, and their future. One day, you may look back and realize that the relationship you fought so hard to keep was the very thing standing between you and the life Allah had written for you. On that day, you will understand something beautiful. Allah did not close that door to make your life smaller. He closed it to lead you toward something far better than you could ever have imagined. When Allah closes a door, do not spend your life trying to break it open. Walk toward the doors He continues to open. Because what Allah has written for you will never require you to chase what He has already chosen to remove. 4. Real soulmates bring you closer to Allah. Tests pull you away from Him. One of the clearest ways to understand whether someone is a blessing or a test is not by asking how deeply you love them. Ask yourself a different question. Who are you becoming because of them? Are you becoming closer to Allah? Or are you slowly becoming distant from Him? Many people judge a relationship by excitement, by chemistry, by how much they miss the other person, by how difficult it feels to let go. But Islam teaches us to judge relationships by something much deeper. Do they help your faith grow? Do they make you a better servant of Allah? Do they increase your honesty, your patience, your gratitude? Your respect for your parents, your commitment to your prayers? Or do they fill your heart with constant worry, constant waiting, constant disappointment? A person can make your heart beat faster, That does not mean they are good for your soul. Real love is not measured by how emotional you become. It is measured by the direction it takes your life. A relationship with barakah brings peace. It encourages halal, not haram. It protects dignity instead of damaging it. It builds trust instead of confusion. It brings sincerity instead of games. When two people sincerely want Allah's pleasure, they do not keep each other trapped in uncertainty. They do not enjoy giving false hope. They do not disappear without explanation and return only when it suits them. They do not expect love while refusing responsibility. They understand that another person's heart is an amana, a trust from Allah. They treat that trust with kindness, honesty, and respect. On the other hand, a test often looks very different. One day you feel hopeful, the next day you feel ignored. One conversation gives you confidence, the next one leaves you questioning your worth. Your emotions rise and fall depending on how one person behaves. Slowly, your peace disappears. Instead of feeling closer to Allah, you become consumed by overthinking. You replay old conversations. You search for hidden meanings in every message. You spend more time worrying about their actions than improving your relationship with your Creator. Without noticing it, your heart begins to revolve around another person instead of revolving around Allah. That is never a healthy place for a believer. Allah created marriage to be a source of tranquility. The Quran describes spouses as a means of finding peace, mercy, and affection. That does not mean every marriage is free from problems. Every relationship will have challenges. But even during hardship, there should be honesty. There should be respect. There should be the desire to please Allah together. A soulmate is not someone who replaces your relationship with Allah. A soulmate is someone who helps protect it. They remind you to pray when you become careless. They encourage you to choose patience when life becomes difficult. They support you in doing what is right, even when it is not easy. They make your heart feel safer in its faith, not weaker. This is why the best relationships are not built only on love. They are built on taqwa. Because beauty changes. Feelings rise and fall. Life brings unexpected hardships. But two hearts that sincerely fear Allah have a foundation that can survive those storms. If someone repeatedly pulls you away from your values, if they make you compromise your deen, if they leave you constantly anxious and spiritually exhausted, do not mistake that struggle for true love. Sometimes it is simply the lesson Allah is using to teach you what real love should never look like. Never forget this truth. The person written for you will not be perfect. Neither will you. But together, you should make it easier, not harder, to obey Allah. That is the kind of love filled with barakah. That is the kind of love worth waiting for. Because the greatest gift is not finding someone who captures your heart. It is finding someone who helps your heart stay connected to the one who created it. 5. The love Allah has written, for you will never require you to disobey Him. After every heartbreak, one question quietly remains inside the heart. What if I never find anyone else? It is a question that fills many people with fear. They begin to believe that they have already lost the best person they will ever meet, that no one will understand them the same way, that no one will love them the same way. So they continue holding on. Not because the relationship brings them peace, but because they are afraid of what life will look like without it. This is where faith is tested. Will you trust your fears, or will you trust Allah? As believers, we must remember something that is easy to forget. Allah is a Razak, the one who provides. And just as He provides food, wealth, health, and opportunities, He also provides what is best for your heart. Your rizq is not limited to money. A righteous spouse is also part of Allah's provision. No person can take away what Allah has written for you, and no amount of chasing can give you what Allah has not written. This truth brings great peace, because it means your future is not in someone else's hands. It is in Allah's hands. If someone is truly written for you, You will never have to earn them by disobeying Allah. You will never have to give up your self-respect. You will never have to abandon your values. You will never have to keep proving your worth while they keep making you feel unwanted. The love that comes from Allah does not ask you to lose yourself. It helps you become a better version of yourself. It brings you closer to your Creator. It protects your dignity. It brings honesty instead of confusion. It brings commitment instead of excuses. It brings peace instead of constant anxiety. Many people spend years trying to force a relationship that Allah never blessed. They ignore warning after warning. They call the pain love. They call the confusion destiny. They call the waiting patience. But patience in Islam does not mean holding on to something that keeps pulling you away from Allah. Sometimes patience means accepting Allah's decision, even when your heart still hurts. Sometimes patience means walking away, even while tears fill your eyes. Sometimes patience means believing that Allah's plan is kinder than your own dreams. Remember the beautiful promise of Allah. He never takes something away without wisdom. He never closes one door except that another door exists within His knowledge. The timing may not be yours. The path may not be the one you expected, but His plan is always based on perfect knowledge and perfect mercy. One day, if Allah blesses you with the right spouse, you may look back at this chapter of your life with completely different eyes. You may finally understand why certain people had to leave, why certain prayers were delayed, why certain doors never opened. You will realize that what once felt like rejection was actually protection. What once felt like loss was actually guidance. And what once felt like the end of your story was only the beginning of a better one. Never lower your standards because you are afraid of being alone. Never chase someone who keeps giving you reasons to question your value. Never believe that you must sacrifice your deen to keep someone's attention. The right person will not ask you to choose between them and Allah. In fact, they will help you choose Allah again and again. That is the love worth waiting for. That is the love filled with barakah. That is the love that brings peace to the heart instead of endless confusion. So, if there is someone you are struggling to let go of today, place them in Allah's hands. Ask Him to remove them if they are harmful for your dunya or your akhirah. Ask Him to keep them only if they are truly good for your faith, your character, and your future. Then trust His answer, even if it is different from the one you hoped for. Because the greatest love story of your life will never begin by pulling you away from Allah. It will begin by bringing you closer to Him. And when your heart belongs to Allah before it belongs to anyone else, you will never lose what truly matters. For the one who controls every heart is also the one who writes every beautiful ending. Before you leave, take a quiet moment and ask yourself one question. Am I holding on to someone because Allah chose them for me, or because my heart is afraid to let go? Sometimes the answer to that one question can change your entire life. If this video brought you comfort, reminded you to trust Allah, or helped you see your situation differently, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who may be struggling to let go of a relationship that was never bringing them peace. And in the comments, complete this sentence: Ya Allah, if they are not written for me. Let's fill the comments with sincere du'as and remind one another that Allah's plan is always more beautiful than our own. If you want more videos about Islamic guidance, relationships, the heart, and growing closer to Allah, make sure you subscribe and join our community. May Allah fill your heart with peace, guide you to what is best, and bless you with a love that brings you closer to Him in this life and in the hereafter. Ameen.